There's always a feeling at the end of an election when Democrats lose of like, well, I guess there was nothing we could have done. No, that's not remotely true. You could have actually run a real campaign. So what's a real campaign? So she put out some good things in the beginning and we were excited about it. She had some economic populist policies about housing and price gouging, et cetera. She skyrockets, takes a big leap, right? And at that point, she then turns around and goes and sends Mark Cuban all over CNBC to go, remember, I love business interests. All the CEOs are on my side. Dick Cheney's on my side. Liz Cheney's on my side. Every CEO's on my side. Oh my God, I love corporations. Don't worry, I'm not gonna do the price gouging plan. I'm not gonna do it at all. She's never gonna do the price gouging plan. They swear up and down on CNBC and all over cable news. Well, then she lost her lead. Why do you think you're getting the lead? Why do you think you lost the lead? No, they'll never figure it out, never figure it out. And that's why they keep losing to ridiculous, moronic clowns like Donald Trump. How do you lose to a guy like that? Twice. You think they'll learn anything? They'll learn nothing, nothing. They're lying to you. Why do you think they keep losing? You think they keep telling you how smart they are and how they're gonna deliver you victories. And all they ever do is deliver loss after loss after loss. So Democratic voters, snap out of it. These guys are obvious liars. Fire them all. Fire them all. And if you don't, okay, then keep losing to buffoons, to obvious con men like Donald Trump. Keep losing and losing and losing and never figuring it out. Here, I solved it for you. I figured it out. It's the goddamn corruption. All the stupid donor money, all it's ever done is lead to more losses.
Well, Cenk, in a very calm, cool, and collected way, I think made the point pretty well. I don't choose to shout about how disappointed I am in the Democratic Party. I have my own methods. That's alcohol, my friends. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. You can subscribe to my podcast, Last Week on Earth, and it does feel increasingly like it is the last week on Earth, but, you know, let's at least party on the way down. Look, there's a lot to learn. What are those messages? Nobody knows. What can we do differently next time? Everything is what I would like to suggest. Look, we hoped that we had it figured out. Turns out we didn't. We all put some faith in the idea for a few weeks at least that joy would be a great campaign strategy. Turns out people don't want joy. They want dark prognostications for the future and draconian, borderline fascist plans to take care of it. We just missed the mark by a little bit on that. We started to see the cracks. We started to realize that perhaps it's not the best plan for victory to go on The View and say you wouldn't do anything differently than Joe Biden, even though you're a totally different person. You would bring your own life experience, but you wouldn't do anything different. See, it turns out it's very hard to say all the things you're going to change and do differently when you are the current administration. Kamala Harris had a tough one. She was trying to say she was the change we needed from her and the senile older man who she had to pick up a lot of the slack for. And I get it, the vice president isn't put in charge of a lot, but she could have been fighting for an agenda that she cared about. She didn't seem to really have much to say to that end. Maybe Biden wasn't taking her calls, maybe they weren't meeting very often, but there wasn't a moment where she said, I was pushing for this, and I got our administration to take on this project or that project. It was a lot of, I haven't been to the border, but I also haven't been to Europe, but also I won't do anything different than Biden, but also I'm very joyous. I am thirsty. The DNC is a bunch of elite garbage people. Turns out we got a lot of the garbage on our side. There's a floating island of garbage, and it's the Democratic National Committee. Don't ever want the people to be able to be represented by the people. They want to pre-select whoever will not rock the boat too much, and they will make sure that those people are the people who get power, and we will have the illusion of democracy. I gotta be honest with you, very effectively, the argument we had against Donald Trump of him being, which he is, a traitor who is against our democracy and did everything in his power to tear it down with Jan 6 and not promising a peaceful transfer of power and doing whatever he could to turn over the election and not honor the will of the people, was a bit undermined by the fact that it was actually achieved by our party by pretending that Biden was of sound mind, by pretending that we had a democratic process when it was just handed to Kamala after Biden stepped down forcibly, and she earned the delegates by making a bunch of phone calls over the course of 2 days. Seems like I'm glad we had a say in that. When I ran for office in 2019 technically was when my campaign took place, I said in many speeches that Biden already at that time was making gaffes in every single sentence and did not seem cognitively able to lead. Anybody listen to me? Wine. But look, I'm hopeful that the worst things won't happen. I'm hopeful that we will learn from our mistakes. And I'm hopeful of that for that because I'm delusional and base my opinions not on facts, but on mistaken, repeated ideas that have never really come true. Look, I get that we win an election once in a while, but we keep losing to Donald Trump, who is like if Ronald McDonald were evil and stupid. And that's the guy that now is leading us for, 4 more years. He'll be president until 4.5 years from now because he's still not in there, but he's already suddenly dropping a bunch of very detailed policy proposal videos that he somehow didn't ever say during the campaign. The second he gets elected, he's got a lot more detail. It's interesting. A lot of those are very intense details. So that's where we are. We have a lot to learn, but perhaps we can start actually having a populist message that works. Perhaps for once, the Democratic Party can speak strongly, can speak angrily, can speak aggressively to the grievances of the general public, who is the vast majority of the voting public. We can speak to how we truly need to fix the economy, truly make home ownership possible for people, truly lower rents, truly stop investors from buying up all the properties and thus raising property prices all around the country artificially and making it so that regular people can never afford a home. Stop acting as though somehow our campaign can always just be, we're not that guy. It turns out we won't go back. It's not a very inspiring slogan because it's about what we won't do instead of what we will do. I mean, just look at we won't go back versus make America great again. One is an action plan to do a thing, however weird and vague. The other one is a thing we won't do. Vote for me, I won't do X, Y, and Z. Well, that's not particularly effective as an inspirational message. But, we've got many years to figure it out, and I've got many bottles which will help me lull myself to sleep as we descend into what I'm sure will be just fine. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. You can subscribe to my podcast Last Week on Earth, where I summarize the world every week. Follow me on Instagram at Ben Gleib. DMs are open. Feel free to come in there and yell at me. I'm used to it. Yummy.